am on my way to the shops with young Pearl in the back sleeping, and I have actually pulled over because I've just been ruminating on the concept of self-worth, and I thought I'm going to stop and talk about this before I forget what I was going to say, because I'm in that postpartum phase of like sense of losing yourself to rebuild yourself, and with that comes a bit of self-flagellation, a bit of descending into like, who the fuck am I, what am I doing, I have nothing to offer, all of that stuff. And Julie and I were talking about it because it was a place that she found herself in earlier in the year, and knowing that we can't have a one-sided psyche, and that everything comes as a pair. If we are beating ourselves up for something and we're feeling like we've got a low sense of self-worth, that perception is also matched and mirrored in it, and it's hidden. There's a missing other side to that. So if I'm beating myself up, for example in business, or if I'm feeling like I don't have anything to offer, if I'm feeling like I don't have any direction, if I am really struggling with any sense of contribution, then that low self-worth in that area of life is matched in another area of life where I am building myself up, where I'm feeling confident, where I'm potentially edging on self-righteousness, where I am feeling on path, where I'm feeling like I've got it, where I'm feeling like I've got a sense of progress. Those are paired. So whenever we get stuck in this sense of, I've got really low self-worth, or I'm just really beating myself up at the moment, or I'm stuck in a shame spiral, or I just can't get out of this depression, it's really wise to ask ourselves, okay, well, if there's an opposite here somewhere, because my psyche is always paired with a infatuation or a resentment, with a benefit or a drawback, with a depression or an elation, where is the opposite? And the bigger the polarization, so the bigger the low self-worth, the bigger the opposite piece, so the bigger the potentially high self-worth in another area of life, the bigger the maybe fantasy that's driving this sense that you should be further ahead in some area of life, or that you should be more capable, or that you should be showing up more, or that you should be more spacious. Those functions of our psyche are trying to wake us up to what we've hidden from our own awareness, and what we've hidden from where we are, all the things that we are deciding everybody else is and that we're not, where we actually are successful in inverted commas, where we are showing up, where we are driving forward and learning things and giving a sense of contribution to the world. The feelings are feedback. The feelings are clues to what you're missing. They're not for you to believe, they're for you to get curious about. And we need, as women particularly, and as mothers who live in a culture largely who won't outwardly value the work that it takes to show up in a largely conscious way with our children, we live in a culture that won't value that. So we need to, and it means that we need to get better at asking questions, of ourselves and how we're judging ourselves and what we're comparing ourselves to, and also getting really truthfully and brutally honest about where our time is going, where we are showing up, where what we do does matter. Because as long as we continue to measure ourselves with an external reference point of your worth, then we're never ever going to meet it. And it's a particularly interesting, and I dare say it for many mothers, a painful time in our development, when we have both a culture that largely doesn't value what you do in the work in the home and with your children and with the relationships that you're building, but you're also confronted with imagery all of the time of everybody else who seems to have their shit together, which we know is an untruth, but our brain seems to, like an addict, want to see evidence of everybody else having their shit together except me. Everybody else has kind of got this, but I don't. Everybody else seems to understand how to relate, and I don't. Everybody else seems to have a goal, and I don't. And that reinforces like a story in our brain to continue to look for evidence of where we don't have all the things we think everybody else does. And so we need to stop that. We need to stop the addiction to wanting to fix ourselves or be better by asking better questions. And we can't get away from the fact that this is a function of our psyche to strive us and propel us forward. And on some level it's useful, but it's when it becomes fractious to our sense of self and fractious to our relationships, where we then need to bring the mirror, and look at the mirror and ask ourselves, where am I all the things that I think I'm not? Where am I all of the things that I say that person is that I admire is and I'm not? Where am I those things? Because I am, I'm just not willing to see them. And if I'm not willing to see them, why not? Why don't I want to see those things? What benefits am I getting from being stuck in a story of me not being able to have time for this, or me not being able to value that, or me not knowing enough, or me not being enough to have that voice in that area of expertise, for example? Because we get stuck in those and look for evidence around us to reinforce those kinds of thinking, when in fact it's not true. It's just something we've become hooked on, that we're getting benefits from, and that when we ask enough conscious questions around it, we can free ourselves from the cage that is creating for us. And sometimes from others it's enough for us to see the value in doing this for our children, so that we'll do it for ourselves. We won't always take the time to journal out our own stuff, but we'll step in and help our kids. So what's the value then for you to do the work for you, so that you can show up more, so that you can show up in a way that is really authentic to you, and is more congruent than the pattern that you're running at the moment. And I think in any discussion on self-worth, we need to be having this real conversation around what fantasy you're comparing yourself to, and where are you actually pretty confident? Where are you actually pretty solid in who you are? Because there'll be areas of life where you are, and there'll be areas of life where you feel like a fucking idiot. And that's actually a good thing, because it means you're growing. So embrace it. Embrace the parts of you that feel like you're not good enough, and at the same time as looking for the parts of you where you're nailing it, because you will have both, and you need both to grow. They are both wonderful symptoms of feedback to show you that you're growing, show you that you are expanding into the world in your own unique way, and they're there to be loved. So better questions always gets us better answers. Have a good one.